Hello, this is just going to be a short stream. Hopefully, I don't fumble it up like the previous Asmongold one. I do think I made some fumbles talking too much about my mic and stuff. Oh no, there I go again. Anyways, I've pondered over this situation for years. I've even talked to my friends, uh, and I don't like gotcha games, but for some reason I've played a couple of gotcha games. No, not stuff like Hero Wars, but ones that I think are actually probably more worth your time. But it led me only not to think about my gaming habits, but also I don't get to go to movie theaters as often as I used to or want to, or luckily there have been some good movies recently, so thank goodness. Or movies I have been interested in. Toxic Avenger, even though I know people don't like Tron, I'm a Tron fan. I did want to see the movie. Not a Jared Leto fan though, so I was worried, and I told Dave, my friend, that I was worried about that. But oh my gosh, I forgot they're gonna talk. Let's switch to a different freaking thing. There we go. That's hotter. Anyways, a lot of people will try to tell you that it's about writing and such, and I do think that's somewhat a factor. I mean, take for example Forspoken. Like, are you going to take some of the dialogue in that as particularly good and not a problem? There's definitely some bad writing here and there, but as well as bad character development and such. The execution, maybe even some just meh gameplay and cycled like elements such as especially Ubisoft where they frickin' recycle the same like collectathon crap. That's so boring. Or climb this tower and synchronize, and then that one. But besides that, shut up. Besides that, I feel like I've seen a lot of the same thing. A lot of the games we love are in indie games. We love our freaking indie games. And yes, there's a lot of them. So technically, you can say gaming isn't as bad. But I think part of the reason, besides an obvious factor, which is greed, and a lot of these companies have shown how freaking greedy they are, is that indie game companies, unless you count when Nintendo and such first started, didn't really exist and wasn't people's comfort food. Uh, and then there's, of course, little companies that were publishers or like developers under bigger companies that were the publishers. But we were used to certain comfort food with these bigger companies that we knew. EA, Nintendo, Activision, freaking Ubisoft, shut the frick up again. Uh, Oh, I might actually have the volume down, so you might not be able to hear her actually. But yeah, when it came to it, I felt like we had a lot of great games that were published from these bigger companies. Here's a new set of boobs to look at. Uh, but I feel like because we had uh, those comfort zones nowadays, we come to know as the companies that make the type of games we see nowadays is freaking trash, or using greed to make tons of profit off of microtransactions and battle passes and crap like that, or different editions of the same goddamn game. So that's stuff that didn't pop up where I saw that stuff. I think that stuff kind of started with stuff like Dead Space 3, and I even saw a little bit of them in Mass Effect 3. But I give Mass Effect 3 a pass because I still think that game's freaking awesome, as well as like everybody that complains about that game. It's really only the ending. That game doesn't nearly have the glitches that something like Andromeda has, which is another problem. There's a lot of freaking glitchy ass games that are rushed, which is a problem once again of those bigger developers. And then like that's only 5% of that freaking game. I love Mass Effect 3. The rest of it's freaking awesome. But getting off that topic, I feel like it's because we had those comfort zones with directors, even the comfort zone with those big companies. And now we have indie game companies, and while they're awesome, I don't think people are as used to them or immediately running to them as much. They probably are now, of course. Makes sense now, but then they weren't. And like indie games didn't really become like known as indie games or as big a deal until like I think the 360 era, late 360 era more likely. And even then they still weren't at their peaking point that they are today with stuff like Hollow Knight, Undertale. Um, does Celeste count? I think Celeste counts. A bunch of other games. I think Dead Cells might count too, and then there's like Hades. There's a lot of Metroidvanias, that's for sure. Metroidvanias were the big games pushing it, the market. And then you had Devolver Digital or whatever was probably the biggest of that, and they kind of become their own big company now. But yeah, like, hell, they have comic books. I saw Cult of the Lamb comic book the other day. I kind of wanted to pick it up. Maybe I should run down my comic book store and have them save that for me. Anyways, um, yeah, I think that's a big part. I've felt very drained. It's part of the reason sometimes you don't always see me stream. Like, I don't stream newer games, but I have to get the motivation as well as I'm definitely like, yeah, I need stuff to play, and I'm trying to always come up with different ideas of different games to play. And sometimes I just play the same thing, or I feel in the mood for a different game. I mean, my channel is kind of unorganized right now. I gotta organize it, and I'm kind of just at like a point where I'm like, this is a lot to handle right now, and if this is a lot to handle, then what? No, but I'll try my best nonetheless with that stuff. I didn't mean to rhyme, by the way. But yeah, that's what I feel like is part of the reason. There's of course other things, but some people make like writing and certain other things I don't even want to get into a bigger deal than they actually are. And it's just kind of become repetitive, boring, and just nonsensical to even tackle that crap. I'm not even going to talk about it, hence why I don't freaking mention it. But I don't think it's nearly as big a deal as people let on. If it's being ironically made a big deal, it is from the perspective of those people who make it a big deal. So there's a lot of irony there. But nonetheless, I hope you found something interesting. Here's your last pair of boobs to look at. There you go. Before I close this video off. But I hope you found something interesting. Contribute what you think might be the problem too. This is just what I think and what my perspective is. I think obviously the obvious thing, and it does feel cliche to say, but greed is a big factor. It's cliche to say, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a big factor. I mean, there's a lot of examples of it that we've seen over the years. Uh, Uba. Also, she looks freaking evil. She looks like a sexy Corella Deville. No, but I hope you have an awesome day. My headset is also telling me that it is dying, so I'm gonna have to bring it back to life by charging it.